Hi folks, today we're going to start working on chapter 5 where we're going to focus on higher ordered polynomials. Alright, so we just got done with quadratic polynomials where the highest exponent was second power. Now we're going to get a little bit higher into those and work on third power, fourth power, things of that nature. But to start it all off, we need to understand properties of exponents. Alright, so that's where our focus is going to be for today. And we're going to really focus on these products over here. I don't really necessarily care if you know the names or not, but when the opportunity presents itself, do you know how to handle it or not? So this first example would be a to the m times a to the n. So when you have the same exact base number and you're multiplying, you're going to wind up adding those exponents. Okay, and here's an example of something of that, like that. Now these powers, or these properties, you need to know them in both directions because they work in both directions. You need to know how to put together and you need to know how to take apart. Alright, and that's the whole idea behind this. This next one, power to a power, where basically you have a double exponent, so a to the m raised to the n, what you're going to do there is multiply your exponents, okay? And here's another example of that. Power of a product, where you have multiplication going inside your parentheses. This exponent will basically kind of distribute itself. All right, it'll go to both parts. So you'd have a to the m times b to the m. Now it's not real solid when you have numbers inside your parentheses because you could just multiply those and get 2 times 3, which is 6, and then raise it to the fourth power. But this is algebra. We're going to be working with variables too, so we need to know how this whole thing works. All right, the next one is a negative exponent. You're going to see that happen quite a bit. Anytime you have a negative exponent, it's just going to flop over and go to the denominator. So a to the negative m is 1 over a to the m. And if it's got a negative exponent in the denominator, then we flop it to the top. All right, so an example of that would be right here. Anything to the 0 power is 1. That's something you've got to know. Any number to the 0 power is 1 with the exception of 0. 0 to the 0 would be undefined. Quotient of powers, very closely related to the product of powers. This time, when we're dividing, we have the same base numbers with the a. So when we're dividing, we're going to subtract always top exponent minus the bottom exponent. So a to the m minus n. So example of that, here we have the 6's on both top and bottom as our base numbers. So we're going to subtract top exponent minus the bottom exponent. And then last one, power of a quotient, very closely related to power of a product, where the exponent will go to both top and bottom. So an example of that would be right here. Now, a lot of these will be used in conjunction with each other. You're going to be using the, more than one property any given time in any problem. On this first example right here, what we're going to go ahead and do is just take a look at right here. We have a power to a power. So basically a double exponent. So what we're going to wind up doing with this is we're just going to multiply our exponents. So this is going to be 4 to the 2 times 3, or 4 to the 6th. Now 4 to the 6th, that's something we can do in our calculator. Your calculators, you will have different things, but some of you will be 4 with a caret up and then 6. Some of you will be 4 y to the x 6. Some will be 4 x to the y 6. All right, so a lot of different ways that you could do this, but the bottom line is you can do it in your calculator. So 4 to the 6th will be 4,096. And that's our answer. Okay. This next one, we have same base numbers, and we're multiplying. So what we need to do on this particular thing is just add our exponents. So if there's no exponent listed, then it's going to be a 1. So what we actually have here is negative 8 to the 1 plus 3. So negative 8 to the fourth power. All right, and again, that's something we can do in our calculators. You're going to go through the same steps. Make sure you use your parentheses on this. So negative 8 to the fourth is going to be a positive 4,096. On these next couple, again, we need to understand that there's a possibility that we're going to use more than one rule at any given time. This one, all this is the quotient property. So this exponent that's on the outside is going to go both top and bottom here. So we're going to have 2 to the third over 9 to the third. All right, and as long as we have our calculator, we can go ahead and do this. 2 to the third is just 8. 9 to the third is 729. And that's done. If you couldn't reduce the 2/9, you wouldn't be able to reduce the 8 over 729, so it's done. Now this next one, two properties at once. We basically have the quotient, the quotient property, and we also have power of a quotient. So we're going top and bottom, and the exponents, when they get there, are going to multiply. So we have 1 to the 4 times -2, or 1 to the -8 power, over 3 to the 2 times -2, or 3 to the -4th. Now we go to a different property, and that's the negative exponent. If we have a negative exponent on top, then it's going to flip to the bottom. If it's got a negative exponent on bottom, it'll flip to the top. So we can go ahead and do that right now, where we would have 3 to the 4th over 1 to the +8th. All right, they just change locations and they become positive. So now we can go ahead and do that. 3 to the 4th is 81. 1 to the 8th is just 8, so our answer is just going to be 81. On these next couple, as promised, we're going to get into variables. So we need to make sure that we know how to use these rules without having numbers as our bases, when we have variables as bases. So here, when we take a look, we have the same base number with b all the way through, and everything is being multiplied. So what we're going to wind up doing here is just adding our exponents. So we have b to the -4 plus 6 plus 7. So b to the -4 plus 6 plus 7 is going to be b to the 9th. And that's done. On this next one, there's a lot of things going on here. And when you have a lot of things going on like this, where you have numbers and variables and things like that, break things apart. Break it apart so you have a lot of different small problems to work on, rather than just looking at the whole big thing and being intimidated. So we're going to break this up into the numbers, 16 over 2. And then we're going to move on to the m's. So we have m to the 4th on top, but there's no m's on bottom, so we're just going to put that over 1. And then we have the n's, n to the -5th over n to the -5th. So now we can do the small problems. So 16 divided by 2 reduces to 8 over 1. M to the 4th over 1 stays. There's nothing we can reduce. We're just going to leave it. And then n to the -5th over n to the -5th. You can take that a couple of different ways, but just know that since it's the same exact thing on both top and bottom, that it's just going to reduce out. It's going to divide each other out. They're gone. So it basically reduces to 1 over 1. Now, everything is reduced, so we can go ahead and multiply things back together. So top times top times top would be 8m to the 4th, and bottom times bottom times bottom is 1, which doesn't get us anywhere with a fraction, so there it is, that's done. Again, we're looking at breaking things apart. So we have the a's, so a to the -3rd over a to the 5th. And then we have our b's, so b squared, but there isn't a b on bottom, so it's just over 1. Now, here with the a's, we have the same base number, and they're dividing. So we need to subtract top exponent minus bottom. That operation always takes place on the top of the fraction. So it'll be a to the -3 minus 5, which would be -8 over 1. And then the b's, nothing happens there, so it's just b squared over 1 still. Now here, with the a's, we have that negative exponent again. Since it's a negative exponent on top, we need to shift to the bottom, and it turns positive. So we have 1 over a to the 8th times b to the 2nd over 1. Now everything is simplified. We can push them back together, multiply them. Top times top is b to the second. Bottom times bottom is a to the eighth. And there it is simplified. Same type of thing on this next one. A lot of things are going to happen here. We're just going to start out with this exponent that's on the outside. It's just going to basically come in to every part, and the exponents are going to multiply. So what winds up happening then is we'll have a to the 2 times 3 is 6, b to the negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. On bottom, we would have 2 to the third. We would have a to the 3 times 3 is 9, and b to the 2 times 3 is 6. So now that we have all of that done, now we can break things apart. So we have no other numbers on top, so we're going to have a 1. Then we have 2 to the third on bottom, which is 8. Then we turn our attentions to the a's. So you'd have a to the 6th over a to the 9th. And then we turn our attention to the b's. So b to the negative third over b to the 6th. Now we can do our subtraction of exponents with the a's and the b's. The 1/8 is going to stay put. The a's, remember, top exponent minus bottom, that operation takes place on top. So we'd have a to the 6 minus 9 over 1. And then we have the b's, so b to the negative 3 minus 6 over 1. So simplifying those down, we have 1/8 times a to the negative third over 1 times b to the negative 9th over 1. Now we can finish things up with our negative exponents. They're going to flip to the bottom. So we'd have 1 over 8 times 1 over a to the third times 1 over b to the 5th. And then we can put everything together. On top, we'd have 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And on bottom, 8, a to the third, b to the 5th. And that's done. That's simplified down. I know I threw a lot at you there, but that's basically all it is just knowing those properties of exponents and practice, practice, practice. You're not going to get it the first time or even the second time. You need to see all the different situations, and you need to practice this. So your assignment for the practice is page 333, numbers 3 through 14, and 24 through 35. Best of luck to you. We'll see you in class.